everybody, again, this is Jean here. Block Party 2019. If you hadn't seen it before, this is our block number 8 in the week order that we're doing it. Obviously not in the way you're putting them on your quilt. This is a 9 patch. It's as I was saying before, we're doing lots of 9 patches, 4 patches, but changing them up a little bit, getting a few more units, a few more pieces into each unit. This is if you can see it. This is what's called a churn dash. I explained that. I liked this way I did it, but you can, as you will see in my tutorial, you can change your colorways up. I've done this with 3 different fabrics, sort of a light, a medium, and a dark, but you can do 2 different fabrics and figure it out. But I did the 3 different fabrics to make this sort of look. I could have done it the darker turn dash in the middle, but I chose to do it this way. I like that. And I also used my striped fabric, as I tell you in my tutorial. I was very pleased, because sometimes I want to use a stripe or a geometric and I get all messed up, because I'm like, it's going to be all, you know, one stripe's going that way, one stripe's going that way. But I used my pretty stripe in this block here. So the tutorials to follow. This is block number 8. Don't be intimidated by the pieces that there, because we're getting more pieces in each unit with each go as you go along. But again, it's just a simple 9 patch when you go to construct it. So this is block 8. I hope you're enjoying it. Yeah, so that's it. Have at it. Okay, see you later. Bye. For this quilt, for this block, you have seen it right now. You can keep referring back to the placement of the fabrics, and I've eliminated the cutting step. Hopefully by block number 8, which this is, you're more comfortable with the 2 ruler method of cutting. Very, very carefully finding if I will address if there's a funky measurement on our ruler, but for now you've done 1/2 inch and you've done 5/8 and you've done 3/8 inch. So let's begin with the most fabric that you'll need. Now I had, again, as you saw, I am pulling from a fat quarter, a layer cake mixture. But I do have fat quarters and I do have yardage. But I wanted to use this layer cake here. I had to be sure for this first unit here that I had enough. I had 2 of the same print. There's 2 of the same print. A lot of them, there's just 1 left. Oh, I do have 1 over there. But so a lot of layer cakes, you have to be careful, may have 42 different prints. So if you're doing it, if you're cutting from your layer cakes, you want to make sure for this block that you have 2 matching prints. And that is this one here, because I couldn't quite get these units that we had to cut out of 1 layer cake. By all means, you use a fat quarter. So for this dark fabric here, which you can refer back to the actual block, I cut 1 3.5 inch square. We're basically doing another 9 patch, but with a twist. I cut 2 3 7/8 inch square, which you're comfortable with now. And then the pattern called for cutting 4 of these. I didn't. I'm doing more of a strip method, which I'll show you how I do it. So I cut generously, because we're going to cut them down. I cut 2 7.5 inch by 2 inch strips. 7.5 by 2 inch. So that's that fabric. For this fabric, I just cut 2 3 7/8 inch squares. Now, it was interesting, for this fabric, for this piece on the thing, I used a stripe. Now, stripes are tricky. Stripes and geometric sometimes can be tricky, perhaps when doing a 1/2 square triangle. You're like, and then you have these wonky stripes, one's going one way. So I'm an experienced quilter, and sometimes I'm like, I'm not doing that, because I'm going to mess up. So, but on this thing, I'm like, oh, I can use a stripe, because I know that this unit is just going to be that big. With this one, which I'll show you. Oh, I didn't cut that down. I didn't cut that down. This is 7.5 inches. Yeah, it's not. I forgot to cut out all the 10 inches. So it's going to be 7.5 inches. And there's my unit that you'll have seen. So I can use my stripe. I'll cut that down to 7.5 inches. I forgot to do that. So now, what we're going to do is I'm going to start showing you how we're going to put this together. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to be making half square triangles out of our, we want to get this away and this away. So we're going to mark on the back of our light, we're going to mark the 2, 3, and 7/8 with a diagonal line, and then you're going to match it up to the other, to this one, the 2 and 7/8 inch for this block here. And you're going to be making 4 half square triangle units. That's after you mark your diagonal line, you're going to be making 4 of these units. So for this unit here, I've marked the diagonal, I've sewn it on a 1/4 inch away from the marked line, and now I'm going to be cutting on that marked line, making our half square triangles. Open the cutter, shut the cutter. I'm going to be doing the same with this. This is the 3 and 7/8 inch unit. Now, what am I going to do? You know, I'm like a broken record. You're going to go over, you're going to iron. You're going to take the dark side and you're going to roll up that seam carefully without distorting it. Because you can really make that distorted. I can't tell you how important. Just nudge that up after you set your seam, and then you're going to come over and you're going to cut off your dog ears. And if you need to, remember what we do. This unit has to measure 3.5 inches finished. So you can square up that little tiny bit if you need be. But I'm going to do that now. I have made my half square triangle units out of those 2 fabrics, the darker and the medium. I'll put them aside. I've taken off the dog ears. I've squared them up to 3.5 inches. They're quite nice. I just had a few little shreds that I squared up to 3.5 inches. Squaring up's a bit of a pain because you're like, oh, sliver here, sliver there, but it does make the world of difference. So now what I'm going to do, instead of messing around with 4 different units, so we have 2 different units. So I've taken my 7.5 inch strip here and my 7.5 inch strip here, and what we're going to do is we're just going to put right sides together, scratch them together, put right sides together, and then we're just going to sew down the middle seam. Just going to put right sides together, and we're just going to sew down a seam right down the length of the 7.5 inches. I have sewn these 2 7.5 inch strips together. I'll put these aside. Now what we want to do, you can just put them sort of like that. Find your nice straight line. What we're going to do with, I erred on the larger side with this, okay? We need 2 3.5 inch units. Obviously, we're going to have just a 1/2 inch waist here, but that's okay because it's easier than doing all your fiddly bits there. I find my 3.5 inch there, right down the bottom, and I'm going to take those 2 away, and then I'm going to find my 3.5 inch there, my 3.5 inch. Let's line that up. 3.5 inches there. It's being stubborn. And there. Put my ruler or your rotary cutter. You move that. And there. So I wasted that, but I don't have to be, now they're very precise. So now what do we have? We have a 9 patch unit, right? Okay, 9 patch, and we have our 9 units. We have 4 of these, 4 of these, and 1 of them. Now we're going to put our blocks together. Obviously, the 3.5 inch square goes in the middle. And then I can do it either way. I can do that, which I don't like. I like the stripe to add a little bit of dimension, a little bit of interest. I'm going to put my stripe in the middle, or going towards the middle, right? And then I'm going to put this one with the dark on the outside. Maybe I'll do it. Yeah, I'm going to put the dark on the outside. Now I'm going to do this. Well, actually, you can just mess about. You can do whatever you want. So, yes, that's what I'm going to do. So now, I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, I like that. It sort of makes a circle. But look how different it would be if I put this there. This is the beauty of making your own blocks your own way. Now that right there, folks, look how different. That is called a churn dash. This is a very, very old quilt block. You might have seen it like in real, standard traditional quilts with the outsides different. This is using 3 different fabrics. Now, I like that, and it's a traditional block, but I like the look of a more almost putting that outside there and the stripes into the, you make a completely different block. So however you want to make this block is up to you. I'm doing it this way. So that's the exciting part. Yeah, see, it's still a turn dash, as you can see, because you have, but these units are here. So either way you do it, but your colorways, that's the thing. Your colorways are making this block. Now, I like that. I've liked that I've utilized my nice square stripes there. I think that's awesome. So now what am I going to do? I'm going to put we've done this a million times. I'm going to put we're going to just work in units. I'm going to take it over to my sewing machine there. And I'm going to take this, I'm going to put pretty sides over to the pretty side on this 3.5-inch unit, coming back on this one, and doing the exact same thing on all 3 units. Here is my block sewn into my 3 units now, and again, a simple 9 patch, but with lots more units that we have here. But the principle applies, and it's interesting. I always find that my 9 patches in particular, I like to sew this center seam with the seams going in. My seams are going inwards, right? So that means my top unit and my bottom unit, my seams are pressed out. Pressing, I should say. Pressing, not sewing. Pressing. So these seams are out. And again, that makes for what? What are we going to do? Just a little bit more interest. We're going to be putting the pretty sides, just flipping this over. And on this one, all we're doing is nesting that seam. I'm so pleased that I was able to use my striped fabric there. I'm really pleased about that. Just making it go, because sometimes I'm like, oh, it's going to get messed up. I have a few. Yeah, I have a few. Look, here. Let me show you. Is that in the screen? Yeah. Let me just show you. Because I'm like freaking out. I have a few directional prints. Like this one I love. I love that. But I'm like, oh, geez. But like, oh, like I could have done that. But then again, even that way, I would have had to like fussy cut to get like these points, I don't know. Or like even this one. Sometimes there's a nice stripe. Now I could have used that. That's a nice one. I could use that stripe. But if you're doing a half square triangle with it, do you understand what I mean? I don't understand what I mean because it's like confusing to me. So I don't know how to do that. I guess I could, but like sometimes it might mess up and it might look a little bit wonky. But I'm so thrilled. That's a little bit random. But anyway, so here I am. I'm going to sew this line together here, this 1/4-inch seam, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to put this one up to there and we're going to sew that one together and my block will be done. So here is my finished block. I think it's really pretty. Now, if you are getting a little bit more adventurous in your sewing, you can see that this, I'm looking at through the viewfinder, this unit here, this sort of lovely unit there, could all be one fabric. I chose to use 3 different fabrics to make a little bit more of a scrappy look. But by all means, you could just use 2 fabrics. So all you'd have to do is substitute this line for this one here. You would just use this fabric here to make your 7.5-inch strips, and then cutting it down with this unit here. So you'd have this fabric and this fabric. But anyway, I don't want to confuse you. I love mine. I made it. Oh, let me just see. Oh, excuse me. If it's my 9.5 inches. So it's perfect. It's almost perfect. Yeah, so, oh yeah, let me just do this. It's a little bit out here. So, again, it's just a thread right there. I'm going to hold it just that little bit. Just that little bit there, as you can, oops, as you can see right there. Yeah. Yeah, so there is my 9.5 inch square. Yeah, oh, I love it. So pretty. Yeah, so that is block 8, or if we're having a block. This week we've made block 7 and block 8. Again, simple 9 patches, as you can see, but with actually so many quilt blocks are just 9 patches and 4 patches, or like a 12 patch. You know, like 1, 2, 3, 4 by 3, or 16. So a quilt block can have, some quilt blocks can have 36 units in it. I mean, it could be, you know, they're very, very small. We're obviously not going to be doing that because these are beginner blocks. But I think coming from our first 4 patch, which was a very basic, I think by block 8 and block 7 that we're changing it up. Excuse me. And we're making a little bit more interesting blocks. And again, the back seams are lovely. Oh look, I messed that up. Look, there's my diagonal. Let's turn that one over. I didn't show that. It's so funny. Anyway, here's my back. That one's beautiful. All of the seams. Your back should look as nice, but obviously it's your front. Excuse me. So yeah, there are block number 7 and 8. Look at that. So, yeah, hope you've enjoyed that, folks. And, yeah, it's good. We have 8 blocks down. Only 1 million to go. All right, see ya.